Today on Mike Attempts, Kobalt air compressor. I got this air compressor for free and I have no idea what's wrong with it. At first glance, I see the switch is cracked and the hose port is broken. Let's see what's in the tank. I was expecting much more, but that's a good sign. The previous owner must have kept it drained. After plugging it in, the switch does nothing. Because it's not even connected. The motor turns and the pump piston is going up and down smoothly. No obvious signs of a short. So let's slap on a temporary switch and see if it'll run. Scared me a little, but the motor sounds fine, and it's building pressure. Maybe the only issue is the hose connection. That should be an easy fix, right? Even if the old switch works, I'd still like to replace it. This regulator manifold is made of pot metal, and it looks like it has hairline cracks all over the surface. My first thought was to re-tap the hole, but the metal seems very brittle, so plan B was to look for a suitable replacement. I found one that might work, but according to reviews, the pressure regulator knob is just for show, and the metal is equally crappy. So, back to plan A. I stuffed the hole with a rag and filed it smooth. I thought I'd have a better chance if I reinforced the end before tapping. The best I could come up with was a hose clamp and epoxy. Unfortunately, this is the risk you run by purchasing store brands. Yes, they're cheaper, but almost never sell replacement parts. If your tool is still under warranty, they'll replace it. If not, you can't repair it without getting creative. You can still buy this same model air compressor. The oldest review is from 2014, and I quickly realized that this regulator manifold is the most common failure point. It's irritating that they've been selling it for at least 12 years, but as far as I can tell, have failed to remedy the faulty part. I went ahead and did the same thing for the other port, because now I'm paranoid this thing is going to fall apart if I look at it wrong. I bought a 1/4-inch NPT Tap, lubed it up, and started twisting. Luckily, there were a few original threads left to get things lined up. Even though this metal is brittle, the new threads aren't cutting easily. I have it lightly clamped with plastic soft jaws, but it's difficult to hold it still while turning the tap. Periodically turning it counterclockwise helps to clear the chips. I clean and restart often in an effort to increase my chances. Progress was slow, but it was working. Then this happened. I really was being as careful as I could, but this thing is just pure junk. How can they expect someone to tighten an air fitting into material that can be broken with your bare hands? There's not enough meat left to tap it for a plug, so I figured I'd try to epoxy one in place. I thought wrapping it in wire might help make a tighter fit, but it immediately unraveled when I tried inserting the plug. I ended up using the plug without wire. Hopefully it'll hold pressure. I kept thinking I needed more threads for the hose, so I tried using the tap with an impact driver. It was working, but I gave up when another piece broke off. I used an old bore brush to clean up the fittings. The original switch is rated to 16 amps, so I picked up an equivalent replacement. Perfect fit. Before putting everything back together, I want to clean the pump filter. I bought a new rubber air hose, applied thread sealant, and screwed it in. There's not enough room to attach the line, so I'm going to need to remove it from the tank. Pull the switch wires through the hole and secure the plastic cover. The top won't sit flush because the hose clamp screws are hitting. All better. I added a quick coupler to the hose and the new switch works. Once the sealant had fully cured, it was time for a full pressure test. That's not a good sound. I can't tell exactly where it's leaking from, but it's definitely in the manifold. Oh, it's the plug. I thought maybe I could remedy the situation without taking everything apart. But then I realized it was also leaking from the pressure relief valve. Before touching the valve, I decided to reinforce the port, just to be safe. While waiting for the epoxy to cure, I 3D printed a plug for the empty gauge hole. It wasn't even tight. That was a rookie mistake on my part. See what happens when you assume? The next day, I decided to check for leaks before reassembling. I would have saved myself some hassle by doing this the first time. Literally everything I didn't touch is leaking. The port I retapped is leaking through the epoxy. Surprisingly, the broken tube that I plugged is good. The gauge wasn't tight either. And now I've tightened it too much, causing a crack. Under different circumstances, I do think the hose clamps and epoxy could be a viable option. Alright, it's leaking from everywhere. Time for plan C. I paid almost $20 for the fittings on the left, and I already had the ones on the right. When assembled, we get this. Since NPT fittings don't fully thread into each other, the gauge is sticking up much further than it should. And to get it tight, it had to be upside down. Oh well. It'll sit in there like this. Besides the gauge height, it's actually a really good fit. Now I just need to figure out how to mount it using the existing screw holes. I cut out a rectangle from aluminum scrap, glued on a chunk to bring it to the proper height, and drilled some holes. I ran copper wire through the holes and twisted them tight on the other side. For the hose connections, I used Teflon joint compound. It still makes a pretty good seal, but it's easier to remove if needed. Woo! Now that's what I'm talking about. No leaks. I slathered on some epoxy to provide more rigidity. Then put it back together and popped on another cover. Let's test it out. This repair took much longer than anticipated, but it's a good example that pretty much anything can be fixed. Feel free to rate this video, add your comments and questions below, and subscribe for more.